gospel lesson this morning comes from the book of Mark, chapter 10, verses 35 through 45. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. "Teacher," they said, "we want you to do for us whatever we ask." "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. They replied, "Let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory." "You don't know what you are asking," Jesus said. "Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. But to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared." When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." This is the word of God for the people of God. Praise be to God. Okay, so last week we read, 17 through 32. And this week we start at 35. In 32, 33, and 34, Jesus predicts his death a third time. So I want to kind of set the scene for you. Here we've got Jesus, just talked about how he was going to die. We are going up to Jerusalem, he said, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him and spit on him, flog him, and kill him. 3 days later he will rise. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, come to him and say, "Genie, Jesus, we want you to do for us whatever we ask." That's like saying, "I want you to do me a favor, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So can you just give me a yes? Can you just say yes before I tell you what it is?" And like our sign out front says, Jesus is not a genie. You can't just rub a lamp and tell him what you wish for. You have to have a relationship with Christ. I try to explain this to so many people that I come into contact with at my work, who occasionally ask me questions or tell me, I have a good relationship with God. I have my own kind of relationship with God. I don't need to come to church. And so I like to ask them, really, is Jesus one of your friends? Well, what do you mean? That's what a relationship is. It's like being friends. That's what having a relationship with Jesus is. And you get that by reading the Bible, by praying, not just saying, "Hey, give us what we want." I do like to tell people, though, how much do you ask for from God? Can you give him back an hour? We're just talking 1 hour a week here. You want this or that from God. God wants 1 hour a week. Wants you to come to church for 1 hour a week, because that's where it starts. I kind of feel like if we can get them in here, then they'll see how great it is. I mean, how could you not? This is a great church. And these are great people. You guys are great people. And this is a very welcoming church and a very open church. And I love that about us. And I even tell them, I don't have anything to wear, which is mostly just excuses, but I like to tell them, hey, wear shorts if you want. Wear your bathing suit if you want. We don't care. Just come. I digress. Jesus, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. Jesus asked them, "What do you want me to do for you?" They reply, "Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory. Now, I like James and John. I want to like James and John. Sometimes I don't like James and John. This is one of those instances where you can't really like James and John so much. You know, to me, this is, Jesus just told them that he was about to die, that he was about to suffer. And now James and John are like, hey, when you die, can I have your stuff? You know, when you're gone, can I be the leader? Because if you're going to die, somebody's going to have to lead everybody, right? It's going to be us. Mark 3:17 tells us, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, Jesus gives them the name Boanerges, which means sons of thunder. I think maybe Jesus might have known a little bit more than we do, and gave them an extremely appropriate name. In fact, at one point they go to Jerusalem, and they stop to stay the night, and they tell Jesus, you know, y'all, you're not welcome here. You guys aren't welcome here. Y'all need to move on. And James and John actually say, shall we call down fire from heaven, Lord? Like, should we burn them up? They won't let us stay the night. And I love how Jesus replies to them. He never really gets angry with them. You know, I mean, if I just told somebody I was going to die and they asked, hey, can I have your stuff? Like, are you serious? Are you kidding? No. Maybe before, but you can't now. Shouldn't have asked. But I love how Jesus is so gentle with them. And they still don't get it. Like, they don't, I don't think they understand. You know, they still think that Jesus is going to be the king. Jesus is king, don't get me wrong. But they're looking for an earthly kingdom. So Jesus is going to be CEO. And we want to know if we can be the CFO and the COO. And these other guys, you know, they can be vice presidents or something, but, you know, we want to be up there with you. We want to be in the top seats. That way, if you do die, which we're hoping you don't, we'll get to be in charge. Imagine what the others must have thought of that. Jesus said, verse 38, you don't know what you are asking. Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with? And here it comes, the biggest understatement in the entire Bible. Sure, yeah. Yeah, sure, we can. We can do it. We can do it. He just told them, you don't know what you are asking. Jeremiah 25:15. I had to keep these short. There were several of these verses that I could have put in here, and they all allude to the same thing. But the cup is the cup of fury, or the cup of wrath, which is poured out by God to people. Can you drink the cup I drink? So Jesus is about to drink this cup of wrath. Jesus is about to become punishment for all of the sins of all of us. That's why Jesus had to be both man and God. Because not one man could take the cup of wrath, the cup of God's wrath. He had to be both man and God. Man to live by example, and God to withstand the punishment. So I think when he tells them, you will drink the cup I drink, baptized with the baptism I am baptized with, I think he's saying, you're going to drink the cup of persecution like I am going to drink. Not the full cup of wrath, but the cup of persecution. And we know, because we're fortunate enough to have read the end of the story, that they gets beheaded in the second chapter of Acts, which is right after the Gospels. John, well, he goes on to write 1st, 2nd, 3rd John and the book of Revelation. He is exiled to an island where it sounds like he lives all by himself and completely miserably. We talked last week about getting stripped down to nothing. And that's what happens to John. That's why he's so good at the prophecies come later in the future. You will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. So I think they will drink the cup of persecution, not necessarily the cup of death. You know, in Matthew 26:39, Jesus went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Jesus knew he had to drink the cup. And aren't we grateful that he did? He paid the price for all of our sins. But he did pray that it would pass. And I think the baptism is quite possibly a baptism of resurrection. Because we know all that follow Jesus will be resurrected. So will James and John. But to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared. We don't really know for whom they belong or to whom they belong. I can't wait to find out, right? I mean, I can't wait to get up there and find out who's on the right, who's on the left. And I think that's pretty cool. Although if I had to guess, it would probably be God and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. Well, now, who wouldn't? I mean, really, who wouldn't? Imagine, put yourself in their place. Well, and it shouldn't be too hard to do, because everybody here either has a job or has had a job. And it's always competition, isn't it? You got the new guy who just starts and thinks he's all that, and before you know it, he's hanging out in the boss's office while you're out there working your butt off. This guy's hanging out in the boss's office, doing a little brown nosing, putting themselves in front of everyone else, making sure that, they're the ones that get to go out to dinner with the boss. Get the boss the birthday present or the Christmas present when nobody else does, just to be first. And everyone else in the office or the building or whatever is usually a little upset. That's how come we come up with the phrase, familiarity breeds contempt, right? Don't get familiar with the boss, because familiarity, and the boss should not be getting familiar with somebody, because familiarity breeds contempt. He didn't talk to me like that. I'm fortunate. I am fortunate when it comes to my boss. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them." So I heard a little story or read a story, or I don't know, it's been a couple of weeks now, but it was about polls that were taken from people who had ever been fired. If you've ever been fired, why were you fired? Or if you ever quit a job, why? Who's the worst boss you've ever had? There are some horror stories out there, you guys. And these are usually Gentile people. One guy, if you came into a meeting late, even 10 seconds, you had to stand in the corner for the entire meeting, just to be humiliated. Another guy, if you said something stupid, which we've all said something stupid, if you said something stupid, you had to stand on your chair for the rest of the day. Another guy kept a picture of every single person that he fired on his wall and threw darts at it throughout the day. And also showed it to everybody, these are all the people I fired. You get out of line, you'll end up on this wall. am very fortunate. My boss at work is a great guy. He's not Jesus. Which is funny because he gave me a birthday card that said, every once in a while someone great is born, and then you open it up and it was like, relax, it's Jesus, not you. So for me to say, he's not Jesus, I guess is kind of turnabout's fair play and all, but he's still a great guy. He started off doing anything and everything. He will still do anything you ask. He will not ask anyone to do anything that he won't do. He won't do. I mean, except for maybe print reports that he doesn't know how to do, but I work in the boat business, and in the wintertime, it's cold. Out there on the lake, there are no windbreaks. There's no tree to hide behind. And the wind comes sweeping across that water, and it is bone-chilling. But my boss is out there with his coveralls on, just like everybody else. I mean, when he comes in, you have to help him get them off because they're about that much too short. His legs stick pretty far out. So occasionally it's, hey, can you pull on this leg? But he's a great guy. We used to have a girl that worked there, and she's not with us anymore. She doesn't work there anymore. She's not dead or anything. And she was having trouble with an ex-boyfriend. And he grabbed some maintenance guys from what they were doing, sent them to Lowe's to buy new locks for all of her doors and her windows, and sent 2 maintenance guys over there to replace all of the locks on her house. So he lost productivity at work, went out of pocket for all of the locks, and didn't gain anything from it. She didn't come to work any earlier that day. She stayed there while they changed the locks. He does not lord it over us at work. He does everything that we do and more. And I think that is a good example of how to behave. He's not hung up on privilege or power. He's a little bit humble. I mean, now, as the boss, you do have to get a little assertive every once in a while, and he will when the time calls for it. But for the most part, not at all. He's a great guy to work for. And I hate it when I hear somebody complain about him. Because it's really them they're complaining about. Which I think brings us back to this whole thing. The people at work who complain about, well, he got on to me and he told me I needed to do this or I needed to do that. And what you really want to say is, do ya? Was he right? Because he was right. I know he was right. And they like to shift the blame to him, which is something we all do with Jesus. It's not my fault. It's not my fault I got mad. They cut me off in traffic. It's not my fault I tore that person down instead of lifted them up. Because they tore me down first. Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. That's counterintuitive. That's counterintuitive to who we are, isn't it? Because we all want to be great. We can't help it. We grow up thinking, I want to be that movie star or that singer or a famous athlete who plays football and makes millions. I think each and every one of us idolized somebody like that in our youth. That's what you wish for. What do you want to be when you grow up? Rich and famous? It's ingrained in us to be the best at everything, to be the greatest. But that's not what Jesus wants us to be. He wants us to be great servants. He wants us to descend to greatness. Jesus is such a great example. You know, there were so many predictions about him, how he was going to become a ruler, and he was going to be the king, and he was going to basically crush everyone who had it out for the Jewish people. And the Jewish people still believed that when he came. First of all, this can't be him because he's not the great ruler. You know, they were expecting someone of a Goliath type stature. And Jesus comes, born in a manger, born to a carpenter, from humble beginnings. He lived a humble life. And that's what he asks us to do. And it's hard. It really is hard. I'm going to tell you a little story about my week and how what Lori said when she prayed for me. You have no idea how awesome that was. There is someone in my life, not Dan. Dan's great. I love you, baby. He's a great guy. He's a great husband. He's my best friend in the whole wide world. But I have someone in my life, let's just say it's a family member, so I mean, you can't break up a family. You can't divorce family, right? Every time this person calls for something, I answer the phone. I mean, that's first. I answer the phone. This person never answers the phone if I call them. Whenever they need something, be it broke down on the side of the road or anything, I am there. I'm the one laying on the ground, tying up the bumper, while they stand there and watch me. I don't say no. I never say no. Every time this person says, you guys want to go out to eat tomorrow night? Sure. Even though I don't want to because this person loves to tear me down. What would Jesus do, right? What would Jesus do? So, okay, yeah. The last 3 times, the same person has just canceled the next day. Well, I don't feel good today. I don't want to go to dinner. So this week, this person called me, and I answered the phone. And as we're talking, said, are you sure that's your calling? Are you sure that's your calling? Are you sure you want to be doing that? You can still spread the word of God without doing it from a church. This person is in competition with me. Unbeknownst to me, I'm not in competition with anyone. This person is in competition with me. And if they can't do it, I shouldn't get to do it. And what you said when you prayed for me. Thank you for answering the call. Thank you, God, for calling Angie. You have no idea what that meant to me when you said it. So, whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. Whoever wants to become great must be your servant. I love being a servant. There's freedom in it. The word slave has a negative connotation, but that is the meaning of servant. Whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. So it's not just about being a servant. It's also about encouraging other servants, I think, not being in competition with someone. It's not really about the recognition, which is what this other person doesn't understand. They think that I do this for recognition, or maybe this other person doesn't get any recognition for not doing what I'm doing. It's not about recognition. It's about accomplishing the work of God in the way that Jesus does, with love with forgiveness. He never, ever yells at his disciples. Let us sit at your right hand and your left. You don't know what you're asking. Right after he told him he was going to die. It's not about recognition. It's not about being the CEO or the CFO or the COO. It's about accomplishing God's work. And that's what servants do. So I think we need to ask ourselves, how can we better serve? How can we accomplish the work of God? Amen. Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for opening our eyes on how to become great. It's so counterintuitive to us, Lord. We grow up thinking we want to be athletes or Olympic gold medalists. As we look at those people as great, we don't look at your servants always as being the ones who are great. I pray, Lord, that you would open our eyes to what you truly find great and to help us achieve that greatness through servanthood. And open the doors for us, Lord, so that we may serve in other ways, in other capacities, and in other areas. Help us to serve you, Lord, and to serve all of those around us. And help us just to love each other with the way that Jesus loved all of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I'm so sorry for